Thank you. Welcome to the Village of Buchanan Board of Trustees Workshop Meeting, Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022. After the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to take a moment of silence. One for Betty Travis, who passed recently. She was a longtime village resident, longtime employee, and she had a lot of knowledge about our village history. And Betty worked in our office, and anybody that knew Betty was on the quiet side, but Betty also had a very good sense of humor, a very dry sense of humor, so she'll be missed. And then also for the two NYPD officers that were killed in the line of duty, the second officer passed today. So I'd like to take a moment of silence to recognize them too. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The flag was really waving. It must be windy out.
Okay, everyone, thank you. Before we start our workshop discussions, I know Trustee Zachary and also Marcus Serrano would like to go over some of the things to raise hands and different things on the Zoom meeting. So Marcus, if you'd like to go first, just to point out some things to people.
Sure, no problem. I received a call from a resident, had some issues getting onto the planning board Zoom meeting. So I wanted to explain the difference between a Zoom meeting and a webinar. With a Zoom meeting, just for everybody's information, everybody is invited at the same time, so everybody has the same access. When it comes to a webinar, it's held more like an actual board meeting. The panelists are the board members, invited people, and then the attendees are the audience. So if anybody wants to actually speak when the mayor opens up to public comment, please raise your hand. And the way you do that is if you move the mouse anywhere on your screen on a PC, at the bottom, it'll say raise hand, just click on it, and then you can raise your hand. There's also, if you move your mouse, there's a chat box. You can also put a chat message in there, which all the board members will see as well, and then it could be addressed at that point. So that's the way it works on the PC. I'll let Nick explain how it works on the Apple.
Yeah, if you're on an Apple device, I'm on an iPad. If you're on an iPad, if you just tap the screen, you'll see a menu at the top. And it says things like mute or stop video, shows you the participants. And then there's a tab that says more. If you tap where it says more, you'll get a drop-down menu. And in that drop-down menu, you'll see the raise hand feature. So if you tap on that, it'll show that you are waiting to speak. And the administrator, when it's time for the public to speak, or if it's a public hearing and we're going through the public one at a time, the administrator will call on people that have their hand raised. Raising your hand doesn't mean you get to speak right away. The administrator has to acknowledge you when it's the appropriate time. And that's really about it. That's on an iPad. Tap on the top, tap where it says more, and you get the raise hand feature.
And the only other point, what I do allow you to speak at a meeting, you still have to unmute yourself. And also if you want to turn on your video, again, it's the bottom of the screen on the left-hand side. There's a mute button and a video. If there's an X across it, that means you're muted or your video is off. You click on it once, or you'll unmute yourself or show your video. So hopefully that helps everybody who wants to attend the meeting. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, can I ask another question regarding this, Marcus?
Of course.
So in the past, when we had live meetings, the people that attended would be listed in the minutes. And if they spoke, they'd be listed. Now I see on the attendees, because people have different names on their computers, I mean, we have right now, other than participants in the meeting, there are 5 other people attending, and 3 of them show their full name. 1 of them shows just the first name, and 1 of them shows the name Sneakers. I've seen that before, where it's sort of, people's whatever, the name that they like to use for their, which is fine, but do we, if those people speak, do we need to get their actual name to put in the
Yes,
minutes?
yes, just like a mayor does, mayor will actually your name and address like she normally does, and hopefully people will address
Okay.
themselves.
So
So-
you can listen in with the name Sneakers, but if you care to speak, you'll need to give your name to the
Correct. For the record, correct.
for
Thank
the
you.
record. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Marcus and Nick, for doing that. So let's start with our discussions here. We're continuing the discussion on the local law amending Chapter 181 entitled Taxation to the Code of the Village of Buchanan to add an exemption for members of the volunteer fire departments and ambulance corps. And we have gone over this several times. We will be voting on this at the February meeting, and it will also be on the ballot at the March meeting. So I don't know if anyone has any further comments they would like to make on this.
Well, did we actually determine how many people this would involve? I mean, I'm very happy with the idea. I'm fine with it. But we were discussing, there was a little uncertainty as to the number of people and what it would actually cost the village. I don't think it's going to be a huge amount, and I'm not uncomfortable with this, but I think it's fair enough to expect to have a rough, at least a approximation of what this is going to actually cost us in the tax revenue when people that are active firefighters get a 10% discount on their village taxes. Do we have anything to that effect?
I'll probably have it for your public hearing. I can go by what the town has. I give you a list who's on the town row, who are village residents. We can start from there. And then at least, I don't know how many more people might qualify if they want to apply for it, but at least I can get you a list from the town.
Okay.
Yeah, so I suppose, what is the average tax bill right now? The median tax bill is somewhere around, for the village tax is somewhere around 16, 17, 1800 a year,
Yes, that's correct for the year.
somewhere in that range.
Yep,
So,
correct.
so 10% for a median tax bill would be about 160 or 70 bucks a year that the village would be giving up in tax revenue. I don't think that's a whole lot for somebody that's doing that, providing that service to the village. So I guess if we knew roughly how many people there were, we could kind of get an estimation.
Mhm.
No problem. I'll get that for you. I email the board way before the next meeting.
All right,
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks, Marcus. All right, anyone else? Yeah, we've gone over this several times, so, we'll vote on it at the next meeting. Okay, tonight we have our recreation supervisor here, Nancy Bayer. She has recommended some increases in the summer camp fees. Nancy, would you like to speak to this and,
Yes.
what other communities are getting and?
Yeah.
what your
So
thoughts?
I was thinking about it, and I don't know if we should really raise the resident rate
Mhm.
because they do pay for the pool and the camp in their taxes, but that's strictly up to you guys. But the non-resident rate, I know I had put it in for both. I think we can definitely jump that up $25 as stated on what I gave you, from $820 to $850. And then the half was, I don't have it in front of me, to be quite honest, for something that I had increased it. Who has that, the numbers?
435 to 450.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's just a thought, and we haven't raised it in a while, a couple of years. I don't remember the exact year that we did. We were going to raise it before COVID, but chose not to because of COVID. So it's up to you guys if you want to increase the cost of camp or not.
What
Well,
percentage
let me-
of people are from outside Buchanan?
I have sent that to you guys
Mhm.
multiple times before, but it's mostly non-residents.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Whereas
question?
the pool last year, the pool passes, were mostly resident, which I was quite surprised about, but yeah.
And Nancy, we're seeing an uptick in users of the pool.
Yes, I think we did last year, absolutely. But this year,
So-
we're going to need a new pool director and a new CPO,
Oh,
and that's all for a new discussion, because that's
Right, well,
quite a different
this
story.
is,
okay.
right, so can I ask a question? Now, I'm thinking that like everything else with these kinds of jobs, we're going to need to pay a little bit more to get people. And
We are.
so I think that depending on how much that is, it's not unreasonable to pass it along. Other things have gone up. I'm sure the cost of chlorine goes up. I'm sure the cost
Yes.
of in general, everything goes up. The cost of maintaining the pool. And so if we haven't
Well,
raised the
plus-
fees,
Right, I did send you guys the Excel sheet that was sent to me via the RAPS committee of the different towns and villages that have submitted what they pay people. So you guys should have that, because that's all been emailed to you.
that was,
Just for
was
comparison.
that about a week or two ago, Nancy? When did you send
No,
that?
no, that was probably in December.
Oh, okay,
It was
That was a
actually
long time, that
November.
was a while, it was like in December. at
okay,
least.
I have to go back and pull it up, yeah.
Okay, also, the town of Cortland for children kindergarten through 4th grade is $1,030 for the 6 weeks. Okay,
But I think they also include the bus service too with that, right?
I asked about that and they said they don't really incorporate that into their prices. Number one, they didn't do busing last year. Okay, and the busing, I happen to know, is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
All right, and they don't do trips for that particular age group. So you only do the trips 5 and older, 5th
Mhm.
grade and older. So it's really just, do we want to increase it for the residents a little bit and the non-residents, or just the non-residents?
Well, I think the amounts you're showing here are what I would call a little bit. After no
Yeah.
rate increases for a couple of years, to increase $25 or $30 for a 3-week or 6-week session,
Right.
right? Six weeks is a $30 increase. 3-week session is a 25 increase you're suggesting. I think that's very reasonable. And I think what we want to do is check that if our labor costs are going to go up astronomically, then maybe go slightly more on the non-resident.
Sounds good to me.
So, Nance,
Sean, what do you think?
I'm sorry, a couple of months ago when you did submit that, and we were talking about how much money it would cost to run the pool and how much
Right.
it would cost to do repairs, we did discuss increasing the pay scales. And do you have a basic amount that you wanted to increase to pay what the labor cost increase would be? And if so, would these rate increases cover that projected labor cost increase?
Pretty much it.
Right. I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Well, did you put
Depends on-
something together? Do you have?
But I did, I put down, I sent you the Excel sheet of what
Yeah.
the RAPS people sent me.
Yeah.
So yes, I can do that. Yes,
Okay.
Sean,
Great.
I will give you my suggestions of what I think we need to and should pay for different positions in the camp.
Yeah, so I really, because as you know, we weren't gonna have the kiddie pool, and because of the COVID
Right, we're
restrictions, it
not.
was gonna increase
need
our
more
labor
help.
costs for having the extra counselor. And
Correct.
that was gonna be part of the increase, but we were also having an issue hiring the extra counselors. So we wanted to increase the pay on a broad scale, because on that spreadsheet that you did give us, we were one of the lowest paying communities in the area. There were people that were lower, but if I remember correctly, the majority were higher for different pay places. So if you could put that together, these are very modest increases. I don't even think these are cost of living increases. $5 a week is pretty minimal.
I know. And if
You
you
know?
add it up, it's pennies for residents really to send their children
Yes.
to our camp.
Yes.
But in the retrospect, you got to remember that, they're already paying for this out of their taxes.
No,
So I
listen,
don't
I
wanna-
understand that.
Oh,
I
with the
understand that
pool, yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
But if we can increase the quality of the service that we provide by
I
having
agree.
a very modest increase, I think it would be well worthwhile for that. So
I
if you
agree.
could just give us an estimate of what you think you would need, and if
Okay.
these increases cover it, that's fine. If you need more, you need more. You just have to let
Okay.
us know. I'd hate to be locked into something right now without the minimum detail,
Right. Okay.
Nancy, how many campers again did we have last year?
Well,
I'm
because
sorry.
of COVID, it was lower. I
Yes.
believe it was 160.
Okay, all right.
Okay. But without the restrictions from COVID, I go up to 250. And that's
Oh.
where I was in 2019.
Okay,
So I don't think we're going to have those restrictions this summer. I don't think we're going to have to deal with the pods. I'm praying we don't have to deal with the pods.
Let's hope.
I know,
Let's
I
hope.
know.
Okay, it's huge. It really is huge. But if you look at it, if you take the pool out of the equation, once again, camp made money.
Yeah, the pool, I know every year forever, we lose
Right.
money on the pool, I think
We
approximately.
didn't lose as much last year because we
Okay,
didn't
good.
run the kiddie pool. And we're
Oh,
not
okay,
running the kiddie pool again this year.
correct,
But
yeah.
I do want to bring up the point that that chlorine place in New Jersey blew up. So people are
Oh.
going to go other places for chlorine. So just be aware of that. I have
Was
no
that
idea.
our only supplier from New Jersey? Is
We
that
didn't
where-
get, we don't get it from New Jersey. We get it from Slack. I believe it's in Connecticut.
Okay, all right.
Right, Cindy? Is it Slack? I always get that because it used to be Chester and now it's Slack.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, all right.
All right,
And they're out of Connecticut, but even that was, I had to order way in advance last year.
Like everything
because of
else,
the
there's gonna be
driver shortage.
There'll be supply and demand issues, in other words.
I think so with the chlorine, unfortunately.
all right, all right,
You know, I work with what I'm given.
yeah. Sometimes
I
it is
think the
what it
biggest-
is, right, Nancy?
The biggest
know.
hit is going to be our pool director and CPO. That's going to be our biggest hit because Helen's coming back as a WSI only.
Okay,
So,
I guess the sooner you advertise that.
Yeah.
Let people know
But I-
we're looking.
right, right. So I understand, Sean, and everybody else that you want, what's it going to cost? You know, what increases we want for the staff and things like that. However, I want to get this information out like this week if I can, if we're going to do a modest increase this year
Mhm,
or a small increase this year, because people are already knocking on my door.
okay.
Literally?
No, but you know, I guarantee you, I
interested.
will have a few texts coming through saying, okay, what about camp? I have people
Mm.
wanting to submit their camp
Yeah,
application
yeah.
For campers, but I'm not ready to do
All
that
right.
until the middle of March this year.
Well, you've gotten very popular because you're doing a great job, Nancy. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Everybody enjoys camp. All right, so, but we're gonna vote on this on Tuesday. But do you want to
Next
get a
Tuesday.
sense of what the board is thinking? I'm thinking that they're okay with it.
Yeah, I
Well,
just want to make sure
I'm
there's
sure,
enough
yeah.
for the,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's,
Okay,
I
that's
agree.
a good point, Sean.
That's my point
Um,
too. I agree.
I'm just afraid to increase it too much. I mean, I think the $25 or the $30 for the 6 weeks for the village residents are good. If you want to go a little bit more on the non-resident, that's fine.
That would be
I
my
just
first
need a
choice.
number, because you know, it's always hard to say with my salaries
Yeah.
what I'm going to get, who I'm going to get, and if people want to work or not.
mm-hmm.
So yes, I agree. We want to entice them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
would
how do I do
definitely,
that? Free lunches
Sure.
every Friday.
yeah, I definitely would be inclined to go a little more on the non-residents.
Okay.
As long as we have to cover expenses, we should be doing it.
Okay, it's
In
not
that
a
way.
substantial increase, so it's.
Right, it's not that big.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, good. Also, there's an update on the synthetic ice. That should be, we're hoping for delivery this week. Nancy, did you have anything more you'd like to say on the synthetic ice?
I called Elmsford Rink about what they use, and they just use a rubber matting, a high quality, obviously, rubber matting for their skates. I was looking into maybe a thick carpet. So
You
I
mean
think-
under the ice surface thing?
no. We're gonna set up the tables so that they can change their skates there and walk from the
Oh.
tables to the ice skating rink.
Gotcha,
Bobby-
Gotcha.
How long of a thing? That's what Bobby and I need to talk about. How long do we need? Are we going to get a really good, high quality, thick carpet? They also just puzzle together. The rubber mats puzzle together. I was looking through Uline, which I don't have the book in front of me, unfortunately. And I don't have an estimate because I don't know how wide and how long we're going to need.
Wouldn't the rubber mats be better than a rug? No?
Yeah, I probably, but
Yeah,
they're,
that's what
I
I
think they're
always see
also,
like in hockey rinks and places like that. They're rubber mats instead of
yeah,
carpet.
right. And they all just, like I say, puzzle together. It's just,
Yeah,
it's,
right,
you know,
right, yeah.
they're not cheap.
Right.
Nothing is.
No.
All right. Do you have any other updates for us, Nancy, recreation wise?
No, I'm just hoping for a really great year. And as soon as I can get, you know, all the camp applications out there and everything, the better. The camp applications, the counselor applications, everything.
Okay. And Nancy, at the last meeting, I was going to use this later, but while you're still here, at the last meeting, we talked about getting a recreation advisory committee together. So far, I have 3 people that are interested. So
Are you talking about for the park down in Lentz Cove?
we're just talking in general in the village, you know, so it all started with the playground behind
Right.
the highway department. So, you know, so I just think, you know, we'll get a committee together and of course we'll have them meet with you. So it's going to be an advisory. What their
Okay,
thoughts are,
that's
what they
good.
would like to see. So
That's good. I think we should also note regarding the ice skating rink, that the basketball courts will no longer be in use.
I think we put that out. Yes, they won't be in
Okay.
use while the skating rink is being in use, and the skating rink won't be all year round. You know, so it'll be several months, mostly like the winter months. So after that, the basketball courts will be open up again.
Okay. And do
Yeah,
we
for
know when the
security
construction
reasons.
is starting?
I'm sorry.
Do we know when the construction is starting on the pavilion?
We've been waiting a while, Nance. Marcus,
I
any
know.
more update on the construction?
Yeah, as you can imagine, the electrician had a medical issue. So he's going to be out for a while. The contractor is doing the other work. Materials are back ordered, as you can imagine. So just waiting for the parts to come in. So everything is ready to go. It's just trying to get the materials together, at least on the other work for the electrician. You know, hopefully he'll recover soon and he can get the electric work done. I don't have an idea when that's going to happen yet.
Okay. All right. Yep. We've been waiting. So there's your answer, Nance. Sorry.
Okay.
Marcus, on the rink, did the insurance company, did we ever tell the insurance company we were going to have ice skating, or did we have to, or?
Yes.
Yes, Sean. Yes, I did. And it was a $200 increase for the coverage.
Okay.
A year?
Yeah, for the year. Yes.
That's good.
Are
That's
the
really-
bathrooms going to be open?
Yes.
Yes, the bathrooms will be open, and that's why Bob is on too. That's why we talked about that, and Bob can answer. The idea with everyone, Nancy and Bob, is people when they go off the rink, take off their skates, and they put on the shoes, go to the bathroom. We don't want them walking the skates in the concrete and the blacktop and stuff like that. So and Bob was talking about that as well. So we're going to put that in signage.
So the bathrooms are going to be unlocked on the weekends, or are we paying somebody to come in to unlock everything and lock it back up?
It'll be Nancy's staff, just like the pool. So when the staff is there, they'll open the bathrooms and then close it when they're leaving.
So who's Nancy's staff like on next Saturday when it comes in? Who's going to be opening the bathrooms in 2 Saturdays from now?
Well, right now we have one
there you go.
application in.
Good question.
That's right. We have one application in. So that's what I have currently. And obviously they're not working the entire time. So this is going to have to be we will be open if we have the staff.
All right.
Again,
Or
just
you know what? The board is around all the time. You know what? I'm around. If I have to sit down there, take a shift, I have no
Come
problem.
on down.
I will come on down.
So it's our intention to staff. Are we just staffing it in the morning or all day?
Well,
or
we're planning on,
till dawn, or?
we were planning on advertising it as Friday from 4 to 8, Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 8. That's what our ideas were to start with.
And how much per hour are you going to pay these people?
18.
$18 an hour?
Yep.
Okay.
And what's the, how long do we plan on having this open? How many?
Well, we could have it open for quite some time. As
Okay.
the weather gets nicer, maybe more people will come out. Once again, tomorrow's gonna be ice cold. I wouldn't want to go skating in ice cold weather, but
No.
kids might, But I think the most important thing is when we get the kids coming down, that 11 and under have to be with an adult that's 18 and older, and everybody has to have a waiver signed. The parents have to sign a waiver for the children, regardless of their age. Anybody 17 and under, an adult, a parent has to sign a waiver. 12 and older can come down without a parent. That's what we do at the pool, and that's what I had suggested before. I think those are fine rules.
Is this gonna be
So,
for residents only, or is it open to the entire public?
I think we were opening it to the entire public. That's what my understanding was.
Yeah, that's definitely a board decision, whatever the board
Right.
wants to do,
Because-
absolutely.
Once we go get this ready, a week prior, hopefully, to opening, I plan on putting a flyer out to the elementary schools. So especially if we are going to open it up to the public, that way people will be able to come in and use it and know that we're there. It states no hockey. The sign rules is you have to skate in one direction. You have to obey the attendees that are there. Things like that. No dogs, no eating or drinking on the ice.
Oh, another
stuff like
thing I wanted to bring up, I just remember, talking to Bob and Nancy about this too. As some of the board members know, we've had some issues at the pavilion in the past. So Bob has brought up, and Nancy agrees to it too. I don't want what the board wants to do. Any consideration of putting cameras down there for security reasons and hopefully to discourage any kind of vandalism. We've had kids throwing stuff in there or climbing the fence or climbing the roof of the DPW. So I don't want to speak to Bob, but I talked to Bob about it a while back, and we're looking at cameras anyway. But I don't want to move forward any more investigation or getting some information unless the board wants to go in that direction. So I
I
don't want to
think
speak for
we had-
Nancy. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
to Nancy or Bob, but that's something that, they brought up to my attention as well.
I
think
think
we need
this
cameras.
has come up before. I think we should have
Yes.
cameras in
Yeah,
about 3 or 4
I do.
different places. That
Yeah.
came up before, and I'm definitely in favor of that. At the pavilion, at Lens
Yep.
Cove. We could just decide where, but I think it's a pretty inexpensive thing and they're easy to monitor. I mean, look, how many people do we know that have cameras and they could be on vacation in Italy and look to see if there's anybody on their front lawn?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
average homeowner has that technology already. Why don't we? Simple.
Right, and I think you can set them so that if they go off while we're not there, it goes directly to the police, which is ideal.
All right, so Marcus, you'll look into the cost and,
Absolutely. I'll get you
in the
proposal. I'll
system.
get proposal. I'll give it to the board. I'll sit down with Nancy and Bob, to determine the locations, how many there would be, and I'll give you guys the proposals, and you can decide you want to move forward on that. Okay?
okay,
I think 2 things. The pavilion, though we normally want it open during the day, when the ice rink is set up, it's going to have to be locked when the ice
Absolutely.
rink is not open. And the other thing is, I would say I'm in favor at this point of working something out for non-residents where they can buy a calendar year pass for whatever, $50 or $100, a pass for the year. If there's people that really want to ice skate, or maybe we do it on a daily basis, but I think people should have to come to for non-residents, have some system of paying where they have to do it ahead of time, not just suddenly have 50 people show up.
Sort of like the pool pass.
Yeah, that you got to get a pass for the year or the season or whatever, for calendar year, whatever it is.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're not looking to keep I don't think we're looking to keep the rink open for an extended length of time. I mean, I thought, December, January, February, because remember in the spring, we have to open up the pavilion again for basketball and, during the day. So the board will have to decide how many months they want to keep it open. So right now, it's
I think you should go
experimental.
through at least March.
Okay.
I agree.
Right now, it's
least March.
experimental, so we're gonna see how things are working out, and then
And-
we
Yeah.
can adjust
And if
it
we-
whatever way we need to adjust it.
Right, and if we have a lot of attendees, kids or people coming in, then I say, go with the ice skating rink because we really don't have a lot of people doing the basketball.
Mhm.
And I think we should
Yeah.
really revisit the thought of putting the basketball, making the tennis courts, basketball courts.
That might work.
That
But
is the way to go. That would make it so much better.
Yeah, the tennis courts, I like having them, but they don't get used. There's other
They
tennis
don't-
courts.
There's
nearby.
one family that uses them besides camp. And if it was a basketball court, way more people would use them, and they don't get locked up because the gate at the end is open. So, you know, I
Right.
think that's the way to do it.
Food for thought. All right.
I just wanted to know, Bob is not speaking. Bob agrees with that idea too. So I want to let you know, Bob and Nancy on the same page.
Okay, with moving the basketball court to the tennis court?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
And I
It'd be
think the
so much
tennis
better.
court needs some repairs anyhow, so it's a decision the board's gonna have to make what they want to do with that.
Correct. If the board
Yeah.
wants to go in that direction, of course, we need to refurnish, resurface the tennis court to basketball courts. And, you know, we got to get bids and everything else. So we can discuss that if the board wants to have, I can have George get some estimates for the board as part of the capital project for next year. We got the recreation fund available. So again, you're going to
Yeah.
set up that commission. Those are things they can look at and then recommend back to the board what they want to do.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I got another
So-
question, Mark. I was just wondering, I don't remember ever authorizing the expansion of the employment for the recreation department. Was there something that was budgeted or somebody was hired beforehand, or I don't
What was
remember talking about that.
I'm sorry, Sean, hiring who?
Well, Nancy, they said you were hiring somebody to work with Nancy to take care of this rink at $18 an hour. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, the
Discussing
ice
that.
skating rink attendees. We need to
Pardon?
have people, attendees. We need to have staff down there.
Well, I understand that. I just don't remember ever talking
20
about hiring somebody. We never worked out the details for the use of it before we bought it.
We did. We talked about it the last time, and I had sent an email out on, I believe to everybody about, you know, hiring the attendees between, I had suggested $15 to $20, and Marcus had told me 18 is what was agreed upon. So,
So the
Yeah.
board had previously agreed to hire
1,800.
somebody, is what you're saying.
yes.
I don't remember was that this year or was it 2020?
No, recently.
Mark, did we have a resolution to hire somebody for the rec department?
We don't have a resolution.
No, we haven't hired anybody yet. So the board was, Nancy will have to find people just like when we hired the staff,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
we haven't hired anybody yet. The board will have to approve Nancy's recommendations, just like the lifeguards, the summer camp people.
Yeah.
So there is, just like she said, we can't find enough people for summer camp, and the same thing will happen with these attendees, and the board will come to a board meeting. Hourly rate, you have names and addresses, and you guys would approve them when Nancy finds enough people.
Yeah. And Mark, did you ever find the resolution I had asked for that authorized going out to bid for this stuff and receiving the bid? It had to be in 2020 because the bid was received in February of 21. So
Yeah,
I thought
I emailed the municipality that we copied. So I'm waiting for them to give me a copy of that resolution. So
the village had to put out a resolution to go out to bid, right? We'd have to vote to go out to bid for something, right? And then to accept the bid
No,
package, we have a
No,
resolution.
this
to
didn't
accept
need
the
a bid.
no, we actually
Need a
copied I copied the bids, the bid specs that the other municipality did,
Mhm.
and I took their low bidder and I copied that as a low bidder, as New York State allows that to happen.
But we
and
had to
just
authorize
copied the low
go-
bidder, so that way we didn't.
So the elected
I'm sorry.
officials didn't have to authorize going out to bid? I'm just confused.
No.
No, that's not required. I mean, if that's I just want to make sure if that's something the board wants to definitely do as a process, it's not in the procurement policy. It's not in any policy of the village, but maybe if that's a process that the board wants to do in the future. Listen, I'll follow any policy the board wants to do. If definitely you want to do that, then we definitely can write up as part of the procurement policy. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I just don't ever remember going out to bid for anything without having a resolution authorizing going out to bid. And then when we come back for all the bids, you know, whether it's a sludge, whether it's roads, whether it's anything, when the bids come back, we authorize the purchase, right? Like we did with the Village Circle, we authorized those bids, we authorized
Let
the
me ask a
acceptance of the bid.
question. I thought you wouldn't need a bid on an ice skating rink.
Any
I mean, how many
expenditure over
people sell
35,
this synthetic ice skating rinks?
any
Yeah,
expenditure over $35,000 by our procurement policy and New York State law requires 3 bids.
Yeah.
and I.
For any
Yeah.
expenditure, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
so,
Oh.
Marcus,
Yeah.
could you repeat again what your thought process was with
So-
the bidding process?
so the thought process was that we had a bid from another municipality. It's like almost like a state contract, and we took the low bidder off of that bid from another municipality, so that we wouldn't have to redo a brand new bid. So that's the way I process this process here. Like, again, if the board does not want to piggyback or copy other bids and redo everything ourselves in the future, if that's the policy of the board, we could definitely do that. But we have the flexibility. Like, if the town of Cortland went out to bid for a fire truck, we can actually use the same. Like, for example, when we bought the fire truck, we actually piggyback off another bid. The last fire truck we purchased off another bid. We didn't go out to bid on it, and the board did not approve going out to bid. We just took the bid from another municipality. But like I said, if the board wants to change that, and even when you're copying another bid, if you want to actually adopt a resolution that we're going to copy that bid, then that's something we can do in the future. That's not a problem.
All right.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, the next three items are really something we do every year, election time. So it's going to be, we're going to be voting at the February meeting with the agreement with Westchester County for the use of the voting machines. Also, well, this is something different, to expand the residency requirements to include town of Cortland residents as election inspectors. Sometimes we have a difficulty just getting Buchanan residents, so we want to expand it to town of Cortland residents. The other thing is, so then we also appoint the election inspectors, and it has the pay schedule here. The chairman is $195 a day, the inspector $180, and an alternate inspector $90 a day. So like I said, this is something we do every year. The next is the Empire.
Oh, I'm
Solar-
sorry. I'm sorry, Teresa. I just want to make sure. I know you say every year, but I don't know if I heard you say, we're actually extending the election inspectors to include all the residents in the town of Cortland. We've never.
Yeah, I
done-
did mention.
Okay,
Yep,
I'm sorry.
did.
I must have missed
Yeah,
you.
no,
Sorry.
that's
And,
okay.
and what is the reasoning behind that?
Because Cindy, she went to a seminar. She can explain it to you.
Right. No, just because we don't have a lot of people in Buchanan that go through the county to be an election inspector. So then I have to go outside of Buchanan to get enough inspectors for the election.
There's a specific qualification or training,
They have
Yes.
to be trained, yeah.
and we're not getting, we don't have a lot of people in the village, so we need to.
No, and we have to have an equal number, of Republicans and Democrats on each side, when an alternate. So,
Okay,
right. And we lost a few people this year that didn't do the training because they were getting elderly,
Okay.
for a long time, we've had the same inspectors.
can we put some, I mean, if we need to do that in order to make sure we have enough people, I'd be fine with it. But maybe we can also put something in the newsletter saying any residents that want to get the training or
county training?
qualifications,
Yeah.
county training, can contact and give them a point of contact, so maybe we can, if some people have moved or passed away, that we can try to interest other people. Maybe people probably don't even know about it.
Sure, we could do that.
I think
Mhm.
maybe we should put that in the newsletter for residents.
Yep, no problem.
And I think, Cindy, it's probably been an issue with COVID too. I think, some people have
Yes,
strayed away
Yes, a
from.
couple of the elderly women, yes. Yeah,
yes, good point.
Yeah.
Okay, the next is we have a solar company. I know everybody had gotten the email. So according to our code, we do have a peddler's permit, but they have to appear in front of the board. And they'll be at the February meeting, Marcus, so they can explain what they're doing. But I did see that they're looking to do 12 to 6 for 6 days.
Yeah, so that's a question I want to ask the board. Do you want them to come, or are you okay with their request? If you want them to come, they'll be willing to come, but if you're okay with the request, they don't have to come, but it's up to you, the board, however you wish.
I
Well,
think it's spelled out what they want to do. I mean, it's another solar company.
Yeah.
And you know what I wanted to ask you, because this was on my mind, Marcus, is there some way, because people, not everybody likes people coming to their doors. Is there some way in the village that people can have like a do not knock list or do not solicit list? And it could be left at Village Hall so that when we get these peddler permits coming in, that at least that, you know, once we approve it, that we could hand it to them and say, look, these are the addresses, these people don't want any solicitation.
I believe the state law allows you to do that, and we can put that out there to the public. I'll confirm that tomorrow before your board meeting, and
Okay.
then we can state that at the next meeting as well. And they can give the list to the village clerk, and we'll keep it. And then anybody asked to solicit, we'll give them that list, and they should not be going to those people's homes. But we'll double check the law and get back to you.
Okay,
If we,
I have
if
a
we
quick
are doing
question.
that, I would request that we included a brief letter, even if it's only a 3rd-page separate piece, folded into the newsletter next month, telling people if they want to, if they want to opt out of this, they need to contact and put their name, the village hall, and put their name on the list. People are not always going to see it as a little line in the newsletter. I would like that to be separate. And a lot of people do not want people coming to their door, not even when there's no COVID. Some people don't want people coming to their door. So I think we need to make that very obvious to people so they have the opportunity to opt out. And then we would need to have the permit for this solar company not start till March or something. So that has time to take effect.
I'm sorry, I don't want to speak for Sharon and Cindy, but that newsletter is about ready to go out already.
yeah, it's too late.
But we could do it on
Go with the
Facebook.
next news.
Yeah,
Okay,
we could do
so
it next
go with the
newsletter, but we
next
could do
one.
Facebook, we could do an email blast, we could put on a website, try to go to
Yeah.
word out that way as well.
Everybody gets the piece in the mail. Everybody doesn't go on Facebook and the majority of village residents are not on the email blasts.
I have a question, Marcus. Do you know whether they are they renting the solar or they're selling it?
I don't know. I can ask them. Again, they just act to solicit, but I can ask them to provide that answer. And like I
Okay.
said, do you want them to come to the next meeting and they can answer those questions? That's fine too.
Okay.
However the board wants to do. I can ask them the questions, give you the answer, or ask them to come to the meeting and answer the questions at the next board meeting, whatever you wish.
Yeah,
Now-
I guess it can't hurt.
Okay.
Well, so I also want to understand, apparently, there are some state laws that limit what we can limit. Because of, I mean, Marcus, you were telling me about this.
That's correct,
We
Nick.
discussed this. Yeah, and how is sales a freedom of speech issue? I just don't quite get how that law is valid and exactly what it says.
It says that people have a right to come to your house and try to sell something. It's actually a commercial liberty under the First Amendment. And they actually have more rights than if you're going for like a religious or another reason. And that is what the courts hold.
So we technically can't, even though we can require the permit,
Oh, absolutely, or the license, yep.
but we can't
And you can
deny.
limit the
deny them.
time. You can,
And we can regulate the time. And the
Yes.
times that they are listing in their letter are more restrictive than the times that the state allows you to.
yes,
You-
and that your code allows you to, because your code says 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So this is less,
Right.
yes.
Right, okay. All right. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so the next is the discussion on the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program for the Police Department. Rich Funchen is our liaison. So Rich, if you'd like to speak to that.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I had spoken to the chief, and actually we kind of brought it up almost at the same time about the EAP, which stands for Employee Assistance Program. The cost is very reasonable. It's approximately in the ballpark of about $30 a person for the year. It's extremely important to have this within the confines of law enforcement. First, the experiences they go through on the job can be very depressing, whether it's dealing with people who have died, people who are sick, people who are in accidents. violent people, domestic violence. I could go on and on, all the different areas that normal everyday person doesn't go through. So they see the negative side of society to a great extent. In addition to shift work, I know there's a lot of people who have shift work, they're not law enforcement, but their shift work is part of their job, and it also has them working on holidays. If they have children, relatives, many times they have to spend their Christmas or their New Year's or Thanksgiving alone in a police car. All these things add up, and it adds up into a total disruption for their social life and their family life, and actually their good mental health. And it's been my experience in almost 35 years working with the U.S. Customs that people who are in law enforcement are reluctant to talk about problems. They go out and they face the problems that most people don't want to face. And so they think that because they can solve those, that they can solve any kind of a mental issue. And it's not that. It's hard to convince law enforcement people to believe in EAP. I think it's getting better practically every day, every year. More and more people, I think 9/11 helped a lot to change the mindset that what people saw is never going to leave their mind. Now, I think what most people don't realize about EAP is it's not just you're taking care of the individual person who's working, but if they have any kind of family difficulties, a lot of times in their marriage or a lot of times with their children, it's not just that they have somebody to talk to, but usually the social worker is somebody who can direct them to the correct type of remediation and help that they would need. It could be as simple as something, let's say, an officer is living with an aged parent and they can't be taken care of him. Well, a social worker is going to be able to know which departments to call up and say, this person needs this kind of help. And it takes a load off of the individual officer. So I told the mayor was talking that we would have a vote on this in the next meeting. The cost is relatively inexpensive. And if anybody has any questions about EAP, I'll be happy to answer them.
If I may, Rich, great
Yeah.
summary. Just to give you some ideas, to do just the police department is $156 for the year. To
Okay,
do all the employees of the village, which I would highly suggest you do because there are issues with other departments as well, is $494 for the year for all the employees of the village. So that's what the numbers we're talking about. If the village board is okay, we'll get both proposals to for your agenda for the next meeting, and you can discuss it and consider approving either one of those plans.
it
And that
also
was
acts.
one of the things on the police reform committee also, that was a recommendation.
Right. It also it works actually in a kind of back way for the employer as an insurance program, because if if the individual is having some sort of particular problems, and I've seen suits against the employer that they did nothing to help the individual, et cetera, et cetera. This would set it up so that we do have a program. And yes, we can recognize, and then we can recommend to an individual, especially if it's the individual having the problem, not just their family, the individual, that, something like an anger management thing, you got to go to EAP, and an EAP would recommend some a proper place for them to go to. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Rich.
so could you repeat the costs, Marcus?
Sure. Just for the police department is $156. For the entire village, all the employees is $494, and that's a yearly.
That's for the year. Wow.
Correct.
Well, it doesn't
Very
cost much.
reasonable.
Is it Was this something that was requested by the police department, or is this something that you came up with?
Yeah, Teresa said as part of police reform, that was one of the
Oh, it's one of the
recommendations
suggestions in there, yeah,
of the
okay.
committee to.
Yeah, and
move forward
both
in this direction.
myself and the chief, you know, both started talking about it at the same time. I had
Right.
asked the chief about it. He said, "Oh, I've already done a lot of research on it." So I think it's a win-win. But
Yeah, I think it's so inexpensive too. I mean, it's hard to say exactly how effective it will be because will everybody, jump right in and take advantage of it, or will people just sort of not use it? It's hard to be sure how effective it would be, but I think at that price, it's worth having that as another tool in our toolbox, Definitely worth it,
Mhm. I think so.
seems.
I think it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Marcus, there were 2 additional items that you wanted to speak about that is not on the agenda.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yes, it just happened this week. It was after the agenda was submitted. As the board members know, we have to approve the service award program points for the fire department on an annual basis.
Mhm.
I just got the information from the fire department. They'll be providing me with that list probably tomorrow. So I can include it for approval. So that way, then as Sean knows, and any firefighter knows, it'll have to be posted for 30 days at the firehouse for any comments or recommendations or changes. Hopefully all the changes are already on there, and then that could be sent over to VFIS to do the actuary services, and then that's how they calculate the bill, and they get those people on there. The fire department also will have to get their beneficiaries updated, and any other documentation. So the fire department is currently working on that information, and you'll have to list hopefully this weekend, and you can consider it for the next meeting. That's one thing. Another item is the federal money that we received. We received about $227,992. So let's say $228,000. I thought it's a simple process. I went to a webinar. I got probably 120-page workbook to go through to get that process done. I've been talking to other managers and administrators, and our financial advisors are providing those services to meet all those requirements. I would like the board to maybe consider retaining their services. I just concerned if I miss anything there, or Cindy, or even Cindy will miss anything, we'll be liable to return that money. You have to do a whole analysis that has to be provided to the federal government. You have to do an annual report. The annual report is due every April. So I did get a proposal from them. They said it'll probably be about $2,000 to do the work. And then that number will come down every year. And then just to let you know how the federal government works, I would assume this money will be going next year, because as the board agreed to, that money was going to be used for the manholes, $100,000 a year. So I didn't even know this. That's why I talked to these advisors. They said, no, you have to report to the federal government for 5 years, even after all the money's spent. So they say, after the year's money all spent, it'll probably be $200 for us to provide the financial report. But it's pages and pages of financial report, even when it's all totally spent out. It's so much work that it's ridiculous the amount of work that has to be done. So I'm going to give you guys a proposal over the week and consider it. I can have them come to the meeting as well and discuss answer your questions. But a lot of municipalities have hired these guys to get this thing done, but there's so much work to be done. And I'll be more than happy to share you the 120 pages analysis that, the workbook that has to be done. It is crazy.
That sounds like some fun reading. It seems absurd on the one hand, it seems absurd in terms of the amount of red tape and paperwork and this and that. But on the other hand, I'm sure there have been plenty of people that have abused those funds for things they should not have been used for. So for my initial, just an initial thought, I don't know if this is any final opinion, but my initial thought is that for like what sounds like about 2% of the money that we're getting for free, we can make sure we're using it properly and in compliance.
Yeah, and you're right. One bad apple ruins a bunch, as they say. So they put a whole bunch of regulations and catch up to make sure the money's spent correctly.
Right.
The board is spending the money correctly on the sewer, but there's a whole bunch of reporting that has to be done along with it. So I'll send you the proposal, and I'll send you the link to the workbooks if you're interested to see what the workbooks are required to do as well.
Thank you.
Nothing's for
Okay,
free,
thank
huh?
you. No, nothing's for free. I mean, if the board knows, look at all the red tape we went through for the pavilion and the Route 9 sidewalks, for example.
Yeah.
We're still working on those things to get those things done. So it's never easy. Grants and money's never free, as they say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a lot of work to it. Yep. All right, good. That's all we have on the agenda. So I will go to the board members. The only thing I have, other than the Recreation Advisory Committee, was Pat Leach from the Little League had contacted me, and he would like to know if we are going to have the same terms as we had last year with the Little Leagues. I don't have a problem with it. Like I've always said, I like to see the kids playing on the field. We had spent money to upgrade that field. So, you know, I just want to get a direction from the board if they want to keep the same terms as last year.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. I have no, don't
All
see
right,
any
good.
problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there were no problems last year. Everything worked out well. So
Yep.
I will get to him because he wanted to know by the end of January so that they can figure out what they need to do for the new season. Okay. Thank you. Rich Function, let's start with you.
I have nothing.
Okay, nothing this evening. Nick Zachary, what do you have for us?
A couple of things. First off, there were 14 design submissions for a new village logo. I think they come mostly out of the high school art department. A few of them are, they vary. I don't want to comment on people's designs, but there's some nice ones in there. And I have given those designs to the beautification committee. I've printed them out, mostly in black and white and color. A lot of them were submitted in both color and black and white. Black and white is how it would get used most of the time. So I have, you know, that was just, I think they were going to be discussing those this week. I don't have a report from them yet. I had said that I would be donating some money, and a couple of other people said that they would put something into the mix. And I'm shooting, if there's a design that we're all happy with, I'm kind of hoping to do a $500 prize to that person, probably a high school senior. I'm not exactly sure. One question I had brought up once before was to Stephanie, if we would need a release form, because once we start using a design, we want to have the rights to that design. So we need something where the person gives up their right to the design because we'll be using it. I believe that would be the case. And if there's anybody on the board that wants to put in $50 or anything towards the prize, let me know. I know I've said that before, and I haven't heard from any of the board members, but a couple of other people, I won't get into it right now, said that they would contribute. So that's it. That's where that stands. I also, but when I gave them the designs, all the names were taken off, by the way, so they're being judged objectively. And I have one other thing that I want to bring up. I know when we go into executive session after the meeting, I believe one of the things we're discussing is the negotiation with Holtec for the pilot.
Yes.
So, as you know, we've been doing a complete review of the code, and you know, reading through the code book more than we would have normally. And in discussing this, Trustee Function pointed out a section to me that has to do in the Code of Ethics section that has to do with standards of conduct. And I would like to read that section. Excuse me. The standards of conduct section having to do with conflicts of interest says that no officer or employee of the village of Buchanan shall, and then there are three conditions, but I'll go to the second one, and this is section 7.5 of the code, A number 2. No officer or employee of the Village of Buchanan shall act as attorney, director, broker, agent, representative, or employee for any person, firm, or corporation interested directly or indirectly in any manner whatsoever in business or professional dealings with the village unless full disclosure is made as to such interest to the village trustees in writing, and such officer or employee disqualifies himself from act, and by the way, it does say himself, and in the code book, that should probably be changed to themselves, should disqualify himself from acting in his official capacity in matters affecting such person, firm, or corporation. In other words, any employee or officer, and the officers include the trustees, that has any ties to a corporation that has an interest in the village, or that the village has professional dealings with, should point out that conflict in a letter to the trustees and should disqualify himself in his official capacity in matters affecting such corporation. And my question is, if we're going to be discussing the pilot agreement with our biggest taxpayer in the village, by far, of course, with Entergy, we were getting much more. We're getting less, but we're still getting more than any other tax entity in the village. And being that Trustee Murray is an employee of that company, Holtec, it would seem to me plain as day that he should not be involved in this, in the discussion of this pilot agreement. And so I'm putting it out there that if we go into executive discussion to discuss this, it would be my feeling that the discussion should not include Trustee Murray.
Okay.
That's the way I see it too.
You know, I know there was a question about this early on, and there was something about sending it to the county Board of Ethics for a response. I don't know if we've ever even gotten a response, but I don't know why we would have to go to the county for a response when section 7-5A2 clearly states that a person that has a connection to a company that the village is involved with in professional dealings should disqualify himself, which means to recuse himself from any of the discussion, from acting in his official capacity in matters affecting such person, firm, or corporation, as it says in the code book. It's very clear. There's nothing left to doubt or chance, or there's no gray area. That's very clear to me.
Is there any place in the code that says any issue should be referred to the Board of Ethics for a determination? I believe it says that in writing. I believe it says charges should be referred to the Board of Ethics for determination for any appearance of impropriety. I actually wrote that letter to the Board of Ethics in 2009 when there was a conflict with an employee. And when the Board of Ethics was not manned, that's when the suggestion was to go to the county, which was the other suggestion because of an apparent conflict of interest. You know, as I stated, I've been an employee there for 32 years, almost 32 or 33. Yeah, I think 32 years. And I've been an appointed or elected official within the Village of Buchanan since 2005. That's approximately 16 years, 15 years. And there was never an issue before. It's just, I find it being somewhat convenient that when I don't agree with the people I help put in office, that they feel there's an issue now. There
Well,
wasn't, okay.
Okay, first, let me
Yeah.
comment. First of all, it was sent to the County Board of Ethics, waiting for a decision. There are no charges, and we've mentioned this before, there's no charges. We're looking for an advisory opinion. That's all it is.
Mhm.
So, and the comment about the people you have helped put in, you know, that's unnecessary, Sean. So we just want to have the right direction for the village. You know, there's questions with that. So we're still waiting for the advisory discussion.
Mhm.
We do not have, the
But why
village
do we
doesn't
even,
have
why
a
do we
board of
need,
ethics.
why do we need an opinion from the county when it's clear as day in our code book? And
Well-
by the way, I think everybody on this board has enough integrity to do their best to be fair and objective. However, you know, if, you know, when, no matter how much you try to be objective, if you've got a connection like that, there's the appearance and the possibility that, you know, in the back of your head, you're going to be somewhat influenced, just like you're trying to make, you know, if you're a teacher and your kid is in your class, you know, you know, do you make sure you apply the rules equally? You know, you're always going to want to, you're either going to be tougher on your kid on purpose or you're going to be softer. I mean, it's very, while I trust the integrity of everybody here, I think there's an appearance and the possibility that this could influence a decision. And I think that's enough of a reason that when it comes to the matters with the Holtec negotiations, that, and there's a lot of stuff, this is what's on the agenda right now, but that there should be a recusal.
Is there a reason why I didn't receive a copy of that letter that was referred to the county on my behalf, or my situation, as I should say? Because I had asked for any correspondence with anybody on this issue, and I was told that I would receive copies of anything that had to do with my with my employment as well as my terms as a trustee. I didn't receive anything.
All right, I thought I had sent it to you. This goes back
Absolutely
a
not.
couple of months now. If not,
Absolutely, I've asked for it
you're-
several
you're-
times.
you're-
And I was told
you're able to see it. It was just asking for an opinion.
Sure. And I was just wondering why, when I was on the planning board before, and in 2009, when we voted for the taxation of the GSB and of the fuel pool, of the spent fuel pad, and when I signed the contracts for the police coverage, for the extra money for directing traffic, when we had issues with the sewage, where we were able to negotiate that, when we had the planning board just last year, when you appointed me chairman, and we heard
Mhm.
the expansion of the dry cast pad, why this issue was never brought up before.
Sean, this
Well,
is.
for
this is a
speaking for
different-
myself, that I never, you know, I don't think I was aware of how clearly that section states this. So I only came, you know, I only reread that section recently, and that strikes me as being very clear. So on my part, it's because while I always understood there could be conflict, I was not aware of how clearly it's stated in that section.
So Nick, you've been involved with the village government for close to 20 years now, and you didn't know what the code said?
Well, I don't
Sean,
think all
it's
of
a
us
several
know
hundred-page
each
book,
page of the
And I have
code.
read through, I don't
That's
have
fine.
300, I don't have 300 some pages of code stored away in my head. Yes, that's true. I have a good sense of the code in general, but there's certain, but it's a reference book. It's not a book to be memorized. You know,
Understand.
It's interesting reading, but yeah,
oh,
got
yeah.
yeah,
I just find it kind of convenient that my service to the community, as well as your service, Nick, and everybody's service,
Mhm.
you're not really familiar with the rules that govern our service.
No.
You know,
You know, I think
No,
what the biggest problem is.
And I will
here-
say, I take your point. However, I'm probably as familiar with this code book as
you
anybody.
just said you weren't.
All right, I'm not
But
gonna
I,
get
what I
into-
said is, I've dealt mostly with the
Okay.
zoning section of the code. And what I've also said is, with 300 or 400 pages of code here, there's no way it's gonna be stored in my head.
Okay,
I wish I was that smart and had a photographic memory.
appreciate it.
We thought you were. Okay, so,
But I'm bringing it up now because we're going to go into executive session to discuss this. So I'm putting it out there. I'm not in charge of making any decision on that. I don't know exactly what we should do. Do we push the county for that decision? Do we
Mhm.
just rely on what it says in our book? I would, you know, I'm just putting this out there.
okay, thanks. Nick, you have anything else? Any other?
Oh, no, isn't that enough? No, nothing else.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Anthony, what do you have tonight?
I really don't have much, just the last comment Nick made. I find it interesting that the timing of this is now. I mean, how long have you guys been holding on to this information? Is it something that just came up?
No,
Well, it came up
Anthony, this-
recently in reading through the code book, and it came up because we're discussing this pilot in executive session tonight. It's time to that, Anthony.
Yeah, I know, I
You
get
know,
that. Someone's been doing service in the village for a very long time.
Mhm.
and it's never been an issue before.
Well, this time we're into some tough negotiations. When Sean was the mayor, he never did a pilot negotiation. And it was probably some comments that were made in the paper last year about different things with us becoming an intervener, which raised some concerns. So this is not just a sudden thing. That I believe that request to the county, if I remember properly, went in sometime in November. So this isn't something that just suddenly came up.
All right, no, the timing of it's a little suspect to me, but I guess you guys know.
Why is the timing suspect?
Because of recent developments in the election process.
Oh, well, the timing for me is that this section of the code was something in review, going through the code book. I was talking to trustee Funchin, who's also been reviewing those pages, and he pointed that section out to me. And that on top of the current discussion with Holtec on our tax agreement with them, that's the timing for me.
Well, that code book wasn't printed recently. It's been printed for a
Nope.
long.
No, but we've been reading through, everybody's been reading through different parts of the code book. And so
Not
while we use the code book, like I said, I don't have it memorized
Okay,
section by section.
I have nothing further.
Okay, thanks. Sean, what do you have for us tonight?
Yeah, last month, Marcus, I had asked about the police negotiations because we had received a bill in October for research that's been ongoing since last May. And I had asked for an estimate on how much more research was going to be required prior to starting negotiations, which hasn't started yet. And you said you were going to get back to me on an estimate from our labor attorney. Do you have that estimate? Because I haven't seen a bill for
yeah,
November or December. The last
Yeah.
one I saw was October for about 3,200 or something.
yeah, no more research done. Craig did reach out to union representative about trying to get together. We have not heard back from the police department, so right now, nothing's happening.
Okay. When is the registration day for a village election?
Cindy, do you have
We
that?
don't- Sean, we don't have registration day anymore. We
Since
just
when?
a couple of years now, quite a few years. We just use the county list. You have to register with the county and we go off the county list.
Mhm.
Remember, we used to have all those yellow cards to go through?
Yeah,
It's
well,
been a lot of years.
what
We
we
don't
used to
use
do
those.
is for new people that just moved into the village, there was a 1-day registration day. Is
Right,
it-
we used to do that. We don't. We voted, I guess, to get rid of it. I'd have to
yeah.
look and see how many years ago, but it's been years.
Well, is it a requirement, Marcus, when we hold our own elections that we have at least one registration day within the village?
No,
No,
I-
Cindy's the
I-
clerk, and Cindy has the handbook at the office. We can show it to you.
The handbook has different dates for one election, one registration day and 2 registration days. It gives the exact date of when that day is, I thought.
right, but we're not required to have a registration day
So there's
because
no
you can
reg-
register with the county. And we
But
get the official book from the county. So it's the same thing.
Isn't there like a 60-day lead or 90-day lead to
I believe
register?
it.
So new residents,
I don't
Oh,
remember. I want to say 30 days, but I'd have to look that up.
30 days.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have to look. Yeah.
Okay, last month, Mayor, I had asked for an update on the, you were gonna give us a brief where I had mentioned what the status of the battery project was with at the sheetrock plant, that you were gonna give us some information or,
I've had no further communication with them. No one has communicated anything with me. I was in communication several months ago with I'm going to say it wrong. It's wallboard. It's not sheetrock. They get mad when I say sheetrock. And there has been no one else that has approached me to discuss it.
did you forward, I don't remember if you had forwarded us the information that you were briefed on and what the scope of the project was.
It wasn't, I don't remember anything printed. I remember it was just a discussion by Zoom.
With the Holtec?
No, there's a battery storage company
Right,
that
okay.
wanted to put one of the I don't know what you would want to call it, pods, and they wanted to place it on the property with the, where the wallboard company is, whatever company
yeah.
you want to name it at this point. But they
Okay.
had wanted to put one of those in the parking lot there.
Okay.
I was waiting to hear back and nobody has contacted me, so I don't know what the status is, honestly.
Okay. Nick, you had mentioned the code book. I know that I had submitted my
Mhm.
recommendations. Has anybody else submitted the recommendations?
I am almost done going through mine. I'm going through that zoning section, and aside from the stuff that the code company highlighted for us to comment on, I've made some comments of my own. I have a little bit more to go through. I'll get that. I'll finish it this week. I was timing it to last week's meeting, but that got canceled. I set it aside, being kind of busy, and I'll get back to it this week. I'm almost done with mine, and I'll send it's a lot of pages. I guess I can give them to Marcus to the office to scan and send to everybody. Is that what I should do?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll
And
finish it by the end of the week.
okay, and then I still have to give out a few more things, and I know I've been busy. I've got a few things that have been going on for the village.
Yeah.
So I've asked everyone to submit to Marcus when they're done.
Yeah, I submitted mine last month, I think it was.
Thank you.
And Nick, I had also given you the comments for the LWRP.
Yes.
Did
We
you,
have a meeting coming up, and I will bring them up. We have a meeting scheduled for, I think they're picking between a couple of dates sometime in a couple of weeks, and I will give you feedback.
is that going to be a public meeting like the last LWRP meetings have been? Or?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm sure you can,
So
I mean,
do you-
it involves municipalities, so it is subject to open meetings law, yes.
So do you have any questions on my comments? Do you understand what I wrote?
Let me look at them again. I put them in with my LWRP papers. I looked at them quickly. I'll let you know if I do.
So can you put together
I'll make-
a text amendment or draft amendment and forward it to me with your comments and my comments, whatever the other board members' comments were?
I didn't get any other comments, but I will feedback. I'll look that over and get in touch with you.
I was
me and you were
planning
the
on
only ones
being
that
at the
had any
meeting.
questions on it?
Pardon?
Me and you were the only ones that had any comments on the LW?
You're the only one I got.
I've been
comments
at
from. Yep.
different meetings and I was planning on coming to this next meeting. So I'm waiting to see when they're setting the date. I've gotten the email, so let's see when they set the date.
All right. Also,
Oops.
Marcus, last month I had a question about a $200 email about the a code for chronic code abusers. Do you remember what that was about? Because I thought we weren't going to create a code for chronic abusers. I thought we were going to allow the justice court to set fines and stuff. Do you remember what that correspondence was for voucher 23508?
I don't know what that,
Wait. Let's stop right now. Stop.
What?
We've done this once before.
What's that?
And if you have a question about any of the invoices, when you're in the office, the perfect time would be to ask the ladies in the office,
Yes.
like, what is this invoice number 10/01/876/375? So that's the opportune time to ask them, like, ladies, what is this?
And
Instead
that's
of coming to a meeting, none of us have this in front of us.
Oh.
So it's like, so I don't want to go down that road
I
again.
understand. I
You
understand.
know what I'm
that,
saying?
but
Because
may-
and I don't mind you bringing it up. That's fine. But like, this question could be answered immediately at the office.
yes,
That's all I'm saying.
I did ask that question last month.
Okay, yes,
And-
yes.
The voucher was stated to, when I made asked that question in the office, they said it was for an email from Marcus to
Okay,
the labor attorney. And last month, I had asked that question. He said he was going to look into it. This
Okay.
isn't something that's new. I know it's for an email. I know it's for
Okay.
some code stuff. And I was
Okay.
just wondering if Marcus was able to retrieve that email. That's all.
okay, that's fine. But you just had
Because I did ask
rattled
that
off,
question.
you had just rattled off a bunch of, and I just wanted to stop it before it went. You had just,
Before I gave
that
the
went
details.
fine, but you had rattled off a bunch of our invoices, a bunch of them. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, But if he had those questions, why would he come to the board with the invoice numbers instead of automatically asking? So that's what I'm saying. And
Well,
yes, I do remember you saying that about this one particular invoice.
So I did everything you asked me to
Okay,
do, and I've done this. This is about the third month now.
okay,
Or the
then we'll
one
ask
voucher.
Marcus. Mhm.
That's what I was doing, but you cut me
Okay.
off. So I was wondering.
No,
if
I'm
Mark
sorry, I
was-
just didn't want it to go
allowed
into,
answer the question now.
I didn't want it to go into invoice. This invoice, that invoice, I didn't want to go into it because I think last time you had 5 invoices altogether and I was
I
just.
kind of like to give
perplexed.
the details
Yeah, I
because
was just
sometimes when I ask
perplexed
questions,
that,
people don't
the
remember.
question wouldn't be asked right there at the office, but okay,
And
for this one email, Marcus, do you have the information on that now?
I'm sorry, the last time I wasn't sure about the invoice number. Sean, do you have the actual invoice number again, so I can?
Is it okay if I give Marcus the invoice number, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Thank
Like
you.
I said
The
to you, I
invoice-
just didn't want to go down a road of 10 different invoices. That's all.
Well, I'm
That's
just going to
great.
supply the information that
Okay,
the
That's
administrator.
fine.
asked
But
me.
then, Sean, you do
Thank you.
go into the office and that's a good
Yeah, I do.
time, so people have it in front of them too.
And I
I'm
do
just
do
saying.
that. I do that quite regularly.
Okay.
Mayor.
Good. All right, good.
The
Thank you.
invoice number, Marcus, with the mayor's permission, is 23508.
Okay, now that I have that, Sean, I'll look it up tomorrow. I'll email it to you
Okay.
directly, okay?
Thanks, I appreciate
Okay,
it.
No
great.
problem. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank
And
you.
we did receive another bill from the engineer for the Algonquin gas line. I know we had discussed changing the code to not incur these costs. And I was just wondering, is there a reason why we're getting billed for it again? I don't remember exactly what we had said. I know that the road opening permits and the fees that were charged for the road opening permits were supposed to cover this kind of
Mhm.
bill, but it was $1,230, and I don't think the road opening fee would have covered that. I'm not sure, but do you?
We got a check for an impact fee. So the impact fee certainly covered that amount.
Okay. They sure that was for the one I'm talking about? There's a whole bunch of different ones for Algonquin.
Now, was it the one on
The
on
vouchers-
Broadway across, when they were cutting across the road there?
The voucher did not state what it was for. It just
Okay.
said Algonquin gas.
I would imagine that was it. I don't remember any other road openings.
I don't know. That's why I was just asking.
Okay, okay. Okay, guess.
Yeah, Sean, yes, it was Broadway and we got
Okay.
the money.
Okay. No problem. It wasn't annotated or what the address was. It just was blank Algonquin. That's all.
Yes, no problem. Thanks for asking that question.
Yeah.
And is there any status on the interconnection with the town of Cortland? Is there any further communications? I know there was a meeting a couple of weeks ago, but that was the last communication or information that we had received. Is it dead in the water or is it still moving forward? Is there things
And
scheduled?
maybe you should discuss that in exec. Stephanie might have an update on that. There was some discussion with the town, some negotiations. You talk about the wastewater treatment plant, Sean?
That's correct. The
Yeah.
interconnection that we were discussing as a requirement of receiving $4 million from the state. We had
Yeah,
to-
Stephanie had a discussion with the town. We can discuss that in an executive session. There's ongoing negotiations still going
Okay.
back and forth.
Mhm.
That's all. Thanks.
Okay, and one thing, Sean, you reminded me of something. One thing I have to send to the board, there was interest, and I think I mentioned it last time, that where the training center is on the Indian Point property, I call it the windmills, I'm sorry. The windmill people were interested in pursuing something over there. And I know the Chamber of Commerce was going to support that. And they hadn't gone, which I found quite interesting. They hadn't approached the municipality, which is us, and they hadn't approached the property owner. So finally, AKRF did approach the property owner, which is Holtec, and it's not going to fit into their time frame. They were looking to do something, I believe it was this spring, and as you know, with the property over at Holtec, as they release the property, there has to be site characterization and different things done before the property, and also the NRC has to approve of the release. So, that is not a viable option at this time. And I will send to the board I will send to the board that email. But that's dead in the water. Okay, any of our attendees, would anyone like to say something?
I got a raised hand.
Oh, okay. Now, who is that? Eileen Abstinger?
Who else?
Hi, Eileen. How are you?
She's one of the ones that always attend the meetings. Hold on a
Yes, she
second.
does.
Okay, Eileen, you can unmute yourself. If you can turn on your
Got it.
camera, if you can turn on your camera too, if you like.
No, I don't want to do that. I just want to go, I just have a question about what Nick raised in regards to the conflict of interest. Nobody asked Stephanie for any input on that, and I just wondered if that's because you deferred to the county Board of Ethics for their advisory opinion? Teresa?
Yes, I know the attorney was supposed to write us a memo, but you know what, to keep it out of any type of a political realm or anything, it's just, you know, these people are strangers to us in the county, and they would just go by whatever facts that were submitted.
Okay, all right, I was just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, I'm gonna write that down.
I'm sorry, I just thought of one
Can I
more
just
thing.
add to that real quick?
Go ahead, Steph.
Yes.
Thank you. The reason it went to the county is because we don't have a sitting Board of Ethics, and we're asking for an opinion. So it wasn't charges brought up. And so that's why it's at the county, and that's why I'm not adding in right now, because I'm not so sure what response we're going to get back. So I'm waiting like everybody else.
When did that go to the county?
I believe it was November. I have to check the date again. Yeah.
Is it always such a lengthy process? Or is it lost in the shuffle on their desk? Have we
No.
touched base with them to see what's going on?
Yeah, I have touched base with them the last couple of days. I just, you know, I was out of the loop, as you know, since the middle of November. So I didn't do any follow-up at that point. So
All right. So we're going to wait for that then, is basically where it stands. That's our current process then, is to wait for that. Is that the idea?
and it's just an advisory opinion. So there's no enforcement in it. So if Sean decides that he would still like to attend, like I said, there's no enforcement in it.
I'm sorry, on a separate issue, I just remembered something. The vendor that we hired instead of Hardesty and Hanover for the rezoning, before he came together with a plan, he was gonna get with us and ask what the individual board members had suggested or what they had envisioned for the use of that property. However, we haven't set up any meetings, and we hired him like 2 months ago, wasn't it? 2 or 3 months ago.
Mhm.
Is he working on this project, or is this in a holding pattern, or?
Nope.
Nope, what?
No, I'm hoping that he'll come. I was hoping he would come to this meeting. He wasn't available, but he has met, and Marcus, if you'd like to further, he has met with the property owner, Holtec, and it was a very good discussion. So everybody got a better picture of what's the availability. I know I've had discussions with Holtec about the 60 acres north. That seems to be the one that will be released the earliest. Of course, they have to do site characterization there, even though it's virgin land. And we had, you know, that was part of the intervenor agreement also, that we'd have continued discussion on early release of the property. So we've been looking at that piece. We've continued to have some discussions with that. And I firmly believe that the money that we spent is well spent, so that we can get an idea of, once this property is available, we can be off and running, because I feel very strongly, once any of those parcels are available, the interest from the developers, it's going to be a groundswell. It's going to be almost a tsunami.
Absolutely. And-
It's,
and I
it's
can-
not the best topo, but a developer, in today's world with the equipment, they can do what they need to do.
It's not
So-
prohibitive.
Right, and as I have been in discussions with them, some people are saying it's a waste of money. I don't think so, because we're not talking 12 years down the road. We're not talking 15 years down the road for this one parcel. We're talking, it could be possibly released in 2024. So as we're working through this process with this planner, it's not going to take a month. So we're in 2022 now. So even if we finish the process in 2023, guess what? If that property is released in 2024, then we have the input of the residents, we have the input of the board of what they'd like to see there. Yeah, that's all.
I understand that, and when we had discussed it with him before he started work, he was gonna get together with the board to get their suggestion. He was gonna basically tailor the zoning text amendment and site plan development based on our input. However, we have not been, at least I haven't been able to give any input
No.
to
No.
that planner. So I was just wondering if the ideas have changed, whether he's just gonna come up with the plan and then submit it to us. Because from what you're saying, he's working on it, but he doesn't have our input. So then he'll
Yeah.
have to change it if we don't agree with him, which, as you know, we have a limited amount of funds that were budgeted for that.
Mhm.
There's a limited number of meetings that he's going to come to. And once those limits are exceeded, then we're gonna be on the hourly wage schedule that's in there. So
Yeah.
I wanted to get the information to him first and have him work and do it once, instead of sending us a product, us changing the product, sending us a product again, and the next thing you know, we're getting billed, I forget how much, $180 an hour for something that's only halfway done. That's why I thought the process was us giving the input, him giving his.
Mm.
Yes,
Well,
and that's what I
but-
was hoping he would come to this meeting, that was the original intent. Because
Okay,
we're
but
going
he's
to have
working
to
on it
have
now.
that preliminary meeting where we bounce things off. And I've already said what my thoughts were for that property. But you know what? Maybe the rest of the board doesn't think that's appropriate. Maybe the
Well,
residents don't.
I think we're
don't
gonna
feel
have
it.
some things we're gonna
Yeah.
be on the same page about, some things we
Yeah,
might
sure,
differ
of
on.
course, of course.
Regardless, the board, like everything else, the board has to come to a consensus. And I'm, Sean, I'm glad you brought that up. I think we should maybe make a point of having that set up for the next workshop
Mhm.
with that guy, so we can all give him our feedback and see what he's thinking, and give him what, our preferences are. I mean, obviously, we can't all five of us send him, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, and he's gonna get 5 different things. I think it's best if we just sit down as a board. We don't wanna, if he gets feedback from one trustee, it doesn't necessarily represent the whole board, even though some of our ideas might overlap. So I think we should do it at the next workshop.
All right. I think that's a game plan.
And with the workshop that we canceled to discuss the zoning review, are we going to set up a meeting for that? I know we failed, it didn't get advertised, and so we need to set it up again. Can we set
I'm
up that?
waiting to get some more, like I said, I did not delve out all of the pieces to the puzzle. So I will have a few discussions tomorrow, and you and Sean have yours in, and then we'll see when everybody has theirs in. and
I'll
we'll
have
set-
mine in by the end of the week.
Okay, good, perfect.
And I've looked at more than just my section, because I'm
Because you like
interested in
doing that.
code, Oh, yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. So,
Okay, good.
let's keep the ball moving.
Yes, sir. Anyone else have any comments before we go into executive session?
Yes, I do.
Oh, hi,
I
Cindy.
would like to correct what I said before. So
Okay.
the last day anyone can register to vote with the County Board of Elections is Friday, March 4.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay.
thank you, Cindy.
And then Sean, January of 2016, the board did a resolution to say no more registration days in the
Mhm.
village.
I
Oh,
think
that
we'll-
was 2016, you said? Cindy?
January 2016. I'll send you the
Okay.
resolution if you
Oh,
like.
I appreciate it, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
And I
Well-
think the decision was made because we had people there all day, and I think one time we had one or two registrations.
Right, exactly, correct.
And it seemed to be several years like that.
Right.
So
Right, that's
Um,
right.
I think people, you know, as long as that there's forms for people to register to. I don't know if they can register online. I know at DMV, people are asked if they'd like to register to vote. So,
So if you were to
Yeah.
register with the county, do you have to?
We have,
is-
we have
Can you
forms
do
in
it
the
on their
office.
website? Pardon?
You know, I'm not sure, but we have forms in the office. And it's probably on our website, the form.
mhm.
Okay.
I'll look, yep.
Fine. Thank you, Cindy.
Uh,
Okay, so we're on a motion to go into executive session to discuss negotiations and personnel issue.
You said you're also going to discuss the sewer project, and I'd also
Oh,
like to.
I'm sorry, yes, in the sewer project, yes.
I'd also like to discuss the correspondence of the issue that we had with the fire department vehicle.
Okay,
Give
so
correspondence.
that would be
after our last-
considered, that would be considered personnel, right? That would be a personnel issue.
Yes.
also.
Okay, yeah, whatever you guys,
Okay,
potential
yeah, yeah.
litigation, I don't know, however you want to characterize it.
Okay, all
But
right,
it's exec session.
yes, yes, it is.
Make a
Okay.
motion to enter executive
Okay,
session.
I just did that. Make a
Okay.
motion and we've added on your two items,
Okay.
which would fit into the personnel. So can I have a second?
Second.
All in
Second,
favor?
aye.
Aye, thank you.
Aye.
Okay,